Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Class 47 Peter YouTube channel. And today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at some items that have been 3D printed for me by Jumble Lane Printing. But before we get into the video, let's roll the intro. So about a week ago, I got in touch with Geoff Readman of Jumble Lane Printing and Jumble Lane Model Railway to 3D print some items for me in 00 gauge. And the items are just in front of you on camera. We have a bag of foxes, and there's a variety of different ones in the bag. And we also have some plated girder bridge sides. So last Thursday, Geoff delivered these items to me in person. Now, with the girder bridge sides, they are going to be released by Jumble Lane Printing, and I have a pack of those just here in the retail packaging that they will be released in. Now, just take note of the name. It says 00 gauge Gower plated girder bridge sides. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, Gower is my surname. My first name is Peter. And so because I did give Geoff the idea for these girder bridge sides, because prior to him deciding to release this kit, I did ask him to make me some girder bridge sides. And so because I did give him the idea, he's named the product the Gower plated girder bridge sides, which I think is really cool. Now, this kit is not available to buy just yet at the time of filming. Either by the time that this video has been uploaded or after it's been uploaded, this product shall be for sale. Now, the girder bridge sides are going to be available for £7.50, but Geoff Readman is also going to be offering a discount. So if you mention Peter Gower's video, you shall have £1.50 off this product when you order it, and that will make it £6. So firstly, I'm going to talk through the girder bridge sides. So I'm going to put the foxes to one side. Now, this pack comes with the girder bridge sides as they are, but without the retail packaging. But for the video, I'm not going to use these ones because, as well as the foxes and the girder bridge sides with and without the retail packaging, Geoff also gave me some reject practice packs, 2 of them there, and so I'm going to use these to experiment with before I go ahead and use these ones with and without the retail packaging. So I'm only going to go through the one pack first. So basically the idea is that this is a kit. So it does come with both plate girder bridge sides, and there are 4 pieces, hence why it's a kit. Now, with these plated girder bridge sides, they are 220mm in length and 30mm in height, and there are 4 pieces here, and they make up the 2 bridge sides. Now, these pieces, they are designed to overlap, as you can see there on the back and on the front. These are what is called the elephant's foot, otherwise known as elephant feet. And they just simply overlap together like so, like that. Now, before you do go ahead and glue them, you have to make sure that the 2 bridge sides, when you glue them, are the right way round. The diagonal lines, which are these here, the cross sections, they need to go upwards towards the centre joint. And so basically they glue together like that. As you can see in front of you, that's the correct way to glue them. However, you do need to prepare these first before you go ahead and glue them. And that is because when you do glue them together, if you do glue them straight away, the elephant's feet cause the joints to separate and misalign. So if we just show you this piece here, can you see that little bit that sticks out on camera just there? Now that prevents the overlapping joints from fitting together flush and in alignment. So before you glue them together, what you basically need to do is you need to fold them down. You need to prepare them before you glue them. Now, to prepare these parts before you glue them together, you'll need to use either a small diamond file or a jeweller's file or even a disposable nail file. So in this video I'm going to use a nail file, which is one of my sister's that I have borrowed, which I hope she doesn't mind using. And so basically what you need to do is you need to file down these edges flat so that they will sit flush and align correctly. Now you will need to be careful when you're filing these down. So with those filed down now, and as you can see, although I haven't glued them together, they do now correctly align and they sit a lot more flusher than what they did before. And so when you've glued them together, they should look like this, which is one that Geoff made earlier, and this is one that he also gave me so that I could show you guys in the video. Now to glue the two bridge sides together, there's a variety of different glues you can use. We have Bondic, and this basically works by using an ultraviolet light just here to make the glue set, like so. However, this glue is very expensive, but it is quite good to use. There's also two-part epoxy resin, otherwise known as Owldite, and we've also got Yoo-hoo, and there's a variety of other different glues you can use as well. You can use a resin as a glue. There's also Evo stick, etc. Now for this video I'm going to use Yoo-hoo, which although it can be stringy, it is a very good glue to work with. And Yoo-hoo is one of the glues that they suggest you use in the instructions that are supplied with the kit. And before you do go ahead and put this kit together, it is important that you read through the instructions. Right, so now to put the Yoo-hoo on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an old paintbrush so I can spread it on nice and evenly. Because otherwise it'll just come out quite thick, which I don't want that. I know you should always squeeze from the bottom of the tube, but for some reason I always tend to squeeze from the top. And so you just spread it on like so. You can spread it on both of the elephant's feet or just on the one. Doesn't really matter. And then you just simply glue them together like so. Now what you also need to do is you need to clamp the two together whilst the glue sets. So you can use some small clamps to do this, but you do have to be careful that you don't damage the parts. So I'm just going to use a good old-fashioned clothes peg, which will be enough to clamp the two parts together whilst the glue dries. And also that should prevent them from getting damaged. So I'm going to let the glue dry and then I'm going to come back. Right, so I've left the glue to dry for a good several minutes. So if we just remove the peg, the glue should be dry. And it is. So they've stuck together really well. Now, as you can also see, that part does lift up a bit, as you can see there. So what we can do is we can file that down. Okay, so with the filing down now done, what we've got to do is we've got to fill in the gaps. And so to do that, I'm going to use some filler. I've probably mixed up more than enough than what I really need, to be honest, but it doesn't matter because I've got loads of the stuff. Anyway, so I'm just going to spread that along the gaps so it's nice and smooth. And then what we can do is we can sand it down smooth later. So what we've got to do now is we've got to leave it to dry. Then we can sand it down. Right, so I've left the filler to dry overnight. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to file down the filler so it's nice and smooth. So the filler has been sanded down nice and smooth, and this nail file has done an excellent job of doing that. Now I should point out at this point that because this is one of the reject ones, this is not going to be used on the layout as such. Not for the bridge that these are going to be used for anyway. But that's no reason to be throwing them away and getting rid of them, because I'm still going to keep them. Because what you could do with these is you could put them on an old abandoned bridge or disused bridge and have these as derelict plated girder bridge sides. You could even put them in a scrapyard perhaps, or an idea I've come up with is I'm going to stick these on some bogie bolsters or well wagons and chain them down so it looks like they're being taken away. And I think if you got a rake of those with these on them, coupled behind, let's say, a 9F, I think that's going to look pretty awesome. So once you've glued the two pieces together and you've filled in the gaps and you're happy with it, what you can do next is you can either prime this and then paint it and then weather it afterwards, or you can leave it as it is and weather it. And because this is just a bit of an experiment, it's just a test, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this as it is and I'm going to weather the bridge sides, because something that Geoff did with one of these kits, and he actually showed me it in person when he came round to me to deliver these items. You can see a photograph of it here. The kit, the one that he built, wasn't painted or primed. Instead he went and weathered it with a black wash, which was basically black acrylic paint, and used thinners to make a black wash. And that's the method that I'm going to try out for these. Right, so to weather the bridge sides, what you need to do is you need to put some newspaper down on the table, because this will get quite messy. So what you're going to need is you're going to need some black acrylic paint. I know it says on the label poster paint, but it's the same thing. You also need some thinners. I know in this tin it looks like a lot, but it actually isn't. And you'll need a plastic bowl. or a plastic tub, or in my case, a plastic cone, which looks like something that your cat or your dog wears after it's been to the vet. So what we need to do is we need to put in some black acrylic paint. That will be enough. And then we need to add the thinners. Now you do need to add a good amount of thinners, because you need to thin down the paint as much as possible. So I think that'll do. And of course you also need a paintbrush, because now you need to give it a stir. And then once you mix your thinners with your paint, what you need to do then is to paint it on. So all I'm doing here is just giving it a good coat over. So several minutes later, here we have the end result. Now I will be honest, this has had more than one coat, because the first coat I did, I thought it a bit too light for my liking. So I mixed in some more black paint and thinners in the hopes of getting the shade to come out a bit darker. And this is the end result. And for a first attempt at weathering, I think that's pretty good. I'm really rather pleased with that. I've also done the back as well. I mean, this was just an experiment, this is just a test piece. This one, as I say, it's not going to be going on the layout, but for a first try, I'm quite pleased with that. There are many other different techniques that you can do. There's several different products that you can use. So I'm not here to say that this is how you should be doing it, this is how it's got to be done. This was just to show you guys, basically, of what you can do, if you wish. And I'm quite pleased with that. You can go further afield as well with the weathering. You could put some rust on here if you wanted to. But I'm quite happy with that. So that's it then for the 00 gauge Gower plated girder bridge sides. I've talked through the kit itself. I've shown you how to prepare the kit before you paint it up and weather it. And I have shown you one way of how you could weather it if you choose to do this method. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put together this kit. This is the one that comes without the retail packaging, so I'm going to have a go at doing one of the non-reject packs. And this pack here, this is the one that's going to be used on the layout for the bridge that I'm going to use it for. So it might mean that I decide to do one or two of the methods that I did for the test piece differently. But that's what it's all about with the hobby. You know, it's been an experiment. It has been as well trial and error with the weathering. Right, so this is the stage we're at now. The girder bridge sides have been prepared, they've been glued together, and I've sprayed them up with grey primer. Now, I do have an admission at this point, because after spraying them up with grey primer, I did carry out the same method I did with, let's call it the demo you saw earlier. I put the black wash, which was black acrylic and thinners, onto the girder bridge sides, as you can see in the photo. I thought I did quite a good job of it actually, and I also then afterwards went over with a brush and some thinners to expose the base colour on some areas, and I was going to put some rust on them, but then when I was getting inspiration for the rust in pictures, I saw that nearly all the girder bridge sides were a grey colour, and so I thought afterwards, well, if I'm going to put rust on them, I think the girder bridge sides ought to be grey. They might look a bit better, especially for the idea I've got in mind for the rust. But you know, that's what the hobby's all about. It was experimenting. You know, I had a go at it, and I thought, well, later on, well, actually, I can change that. I can do something different. Now, for the rust, originally, I was going to use acrylic paints. I was going to mix a yellow and a red to make orange for rust, as well as using a brown colour paint. Now, to do the rust, I had the idea of dry brushing it on using an old paintbrush to sort of stipple it on, if you like, using this paintbrush here. I experimented on an old piece of newspaper with the acrylics, and I didn't quite like the effect. It just didn't seem to work very well. So I'm going to abandon the acrylics, and instead I'm going to use enamel paints. I'm going to use two Humbrol colours. I'm going to use Matte 30, which is a brown colour, and I'm going to use Matte 62. Right, so I haven't shown doing all of the weathering on camera, but these are the finished items. Now, I did make a mistake, I'll be honest, with this paint, because I said it was a dark brown. It's not. Matte 30 is a green. So, that's not exactly done my colour blindness any justice. But it doesn't really matter, no need to worry, because you can still use it as a rust. You know, you can say that it's been a dark brown rust that over the years has faded and got lighter, if you like. And also, I wasn't going to use it in large areas anyway. I was only going to use it to try and add more colour and depth and use it in smaller areas, as you can see. You know, it does give a really good effect. And I am quite a novice, usually, when it comes to weathering and rust. But I'm really pleased with these. So, they will do me. I'm happy with them. So, they are now ready to go onto the layout. So, the girder bridge sides are going to go on the bridge that runs on top of the main line. So those 3D printed ones are going to replace the crude looking ones that are there already. So I'm going to take those off, and we're going to put the 3D printed ones on. So the old girder bridge sides have just been removed from the bridge, and so here they are. Now, when these were first made, they were just made from cardboard, cut to shape and the length and size that I wanted them to be at the time, and then they've just been painted in a silver colour, which is a colour that they wouldn't really be painted in real life, and then they were just slapped on the sides. And to be honest with you, I didn't really like them at all. They're not even that detailed, and they don't look very nice. They are really crude. So I'm glad to have taken those off. So the new girder bridge sides have now gone onto the bridge, and I think we can all agree that they look much better than the ones that were there before. They're more detailed and they're more realistic looking, and the rust, especially when you look at them, really does set them off. Especially because there's going to be an upcoming layout update, and the bridge that goes across the sea just there has had a partial rebuild, which will be covered in the update. And so I thought, because the bridge itself has had changes, especially with the bridges themselves, the girder bridges, I thought it was only fair that the bridge that goes across the main line should also get a change, and change the girder bridge sides for something that looks a lot more realistic looking. And so, suffice to say, I am really rather happy with those. So with the girder bridge sides now covered, we're now going to move on to the final item, which is the 3D printed foxes. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, there are a variety of different ones in here. Now, there are already some manufacturers out there that do make 00 gauge foxes. There's Langley Models and Springside, who both make them in white metal form, which you have to paint yourselves. Now, to be honest with you, I've looked at them in the pictures and they don't look all that good, to be honest. They do look rather crude looking, in my opinion. Whereas these ones, which have been 3D printed, in my opinion, they look far more realistic looking and far much better than the white metal versions. And I'm really happy with these. And like I say, there's a variety of different ones in here. We've got some that are curled up. As you can see, there's that one there as well, which is broke off. You've also got some smaller ones here. You've even got some with babies. And these are fennec foxes, I believe, and you've got some here as well. You've got some in two different sizes. There's some smaller ones and there's some larger ones. And you've got these ones that look like they're leaping over something. So you do get a lot of variety in there. And so some of these I am definitely going to be using on the layout. I think I'm going to be using a mix between possibly these ones here and these ones, because I have got some ideas for them to use on the layout. I may also use some of the ones that are curled up as well on the layout, possibly, but we'll see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the foxes first. Now, usually you can prime them up before you paint them, but you can paint them as well without priming them. And I'm going to paint them rather than priming them first and then painting them, because I don't think I've got enough Halford's Grey primer left. But yeah, not to worry. Now, for the paint, I've mixed a shade of paint to get an orangey brown colour, which is about the colour that they would look in real life, rather than just painting them red. So I hope that there's going to be enough in here to paint the number of foxes that I want to use on the layout. If not, then I'll have to use one of my other shades. Now I am very happy with the foxes, however they're not quite finished yet painting wise, because I've still got to get them finished. What I need to do now is to add some white onto the ends of their tails and just under their chin and around the front of them, as you see on the foxes in real life. Now, to replicate that, I'm going to try using a white gel pen, which will have to save me from going out and buying some white paint, and it might also be easier to use this gel pen as well. Right, so the foxes you can see in front of you are done. Now I'm not going to run through all of these because the painting is exactly the same on each one. So I'm just going to show you one of each. So here's one of the ones that's killed up sleeping. Now, to draw the white under their chin, as you can see, that wasn't easy to do. That was a pain. But when it's done, it does look really nice. You know, it makes it look more like the real creature. Now I haven't painted the end of the tail white. That's because looking through some photos of them curled up, sometimes you can see the white at the end of the tail, other times you can't. So I thought I could easily get away with that. So there's 3 of those ones. And now here's one of the other ones. Now what I've done is I've painted the front legs black. That's because if you look at photos of them, the front legs, they are a dark colour. Either I'd say a dark brown or a black. I've used a black, which has picked them out very nicely. And again, it's just little details like that that make them look more like the real animal. So these are now looking fantastic. So the foxes are now all finished painting. So with these done, all I've got to do now is to get them added on the layout. Right, so after painting them, cutting them off, and then making some touch-ups, I've added the foxes onto the layout. So there's a total of 7 different foxes on here. So the first one is positioned just there, in front of those old abandoned line-side huts, just by the line side. The next one is in this area here, by the church where the wedding is taking place. I've added one of the ones curled up on the layout, and that one now is asleep under the tree. I've also added a fox in this area here that's been heavily fly tipped, and that fox is just there. So he's making a way across to that area. I've also put another fox by the line side, just there, in front of those rock faces. Because you can get them by the line side. I've seen them a number of times, especially down the railway that runs at the back of my park. So I thought, why not add a couple by the line side? I put another fox just down there, in this area that's also been fly tipped. And he's right next to the black bags. So he's about to rip into the bags. hunt for some food. And my favourite one personally, I've added a fox on top of that pigeon house there, or allotment, however you choose to call it. And that fox has been added on top of there because he's looking into the chicken coop in next door's garden where the village shop is, and so he's got his eye on the chickens. That's one that just had to be done. So that now brings me on to the end of the video. I've covered the Gower plated girder bridge sides and the foxes, which I am possibly going to add a few more foxes onto the layout at some point, but that will be mentioned in a future video, I think, because I think this video has gone on for long enough. So all that's left to say now is thanks for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this video and possibly even been of some use to you one way or the other. Please subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. Don't forget to hit the like button, and also don't forget, when you order the Gower plated girder bridge sides from Jumble Lane Printing, if you mention my video you will get a special discount of £1.50 off the order. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, but until then, stay safe and take care. Bye for now.